This is just a document called Managing Misbehavior, steps 1, 2, 3. And the first one is, what is the misbehavior pattern? That's the first step. So most acts of misconduct occur as part of a pattern. So children develop one or more patterns of misbehavior in order to get what they want or to express emotion. Then we talked earlier about the 4 typical patterns of misbehavior. That was the annoying, the disobedient, the defiant, and the aggressive. So the first thing you want to do is when you're looking at a kid who's with patterns of misbehavior, you need to define it. What is it? What is it that they're doing? Is it just, like we said, on annoying behavior, then that's something that you tend to ignore. Kind of each step of the way, we're going to look at what actions to take. The second step is, what is the purpose? We already talked a little bit about the payoff of anger. So what is the purpose? When the misbehavior is annoying, children may be trying to get their way. They may try to get you to give in or change your mind. So most of misbehaviors are to get what you want. When children are disobedient, it may be that they are not internally or externally motivated to do what you want. The clean up your room, why should I? They are very motivated to do something else like ignore you, and this can lead to defiance. Children who are defiant are typically after control or power. And remember, one of the things about the kids that we work with is that in many, many ways they were powerless. They had no control in their lives. So the one area they could control was their emotions and their mads and their, so controlling you, being defiant, is a way of control or power. It doesn't lend in the long run to getting what they want, but this is something that they've learned as a way to cope with many of their situations. And then children who exhibit aggressive behavior are often expressing anger, frustration, or revenge. They may hurt because they did not get their way, or they believe that you've done something against them. So what is the pattern of the misbehavior? What's the purpose of the misbehavior? And then what action to take? So my first step, ignore annoying behaviors. As hard as that may be, that doesn't mean to ignore the problem. The correct action is to ignore the whining, the teasing, not to give in to the demands. Tantrums need an audience. So it's actually fine to say, I'm ignoring you. And then, of course, the master of it all is redirection. I'm ignoring you, and let's go do blah, blah. So redirect their behavior into something else. No, we're not going to get a video right now, but let's go make a chocolate cake. Do something to redirect them. And then a long-term solution is reinforce positive behaviors, such as politely and speaking calmly. I had foster parents that I worked with when I was a case-carrying social worker at Casey. And these foster parents had 2 of the girls on my caseload. One was 18 and one was 17, or 17 and 16 at one point. Anyway, the 17-year-old, the older girl, she was pretty compliant. She was pretty easygoing, but she had her issues. The younger kid was had so many problems. She was just very defiant, didn't want to do any work, had troubles in school, liked to stay out. Anyway, this foster parent came up with the Caduce basket, and every day she wrote something positive about the kids. She had to rack her brain sometimes. There would be something like, "Thank you, Carla, for calling me at 2 in the morning to tell me you're not coming home tonight." I mean, she racked her brain to come up with positive things to say every day about these kids. And it sat, this basket thing sat in the living room. And two things would happen. The foster mom would occasionally, she could peer around from the kitchen. She would find the girls going through the basket and reading these positive statements. The other thing that would happen is that when I made my every 2-week visit to see these girls, the first thing they would do is grab me and take me to the basket. See what Carla, see what, blah, blah wrote about me. See, read these. Wendy, read these. It absolutely showed the power of positive statements, of positive reinforcement. Now, that didn't mean that they didn't have tough times, that they didn't go through difficult periods for both of the girls in different ways, but it showed that every time the power of the positive statements. So we have to remember to tell kids positive statements. So, let's see. Moving on. When a child is disobedient, give a firm warning to stop. Think about what you're doing. If you continue, they say it will be punished. I like the word consequences. You decide. Putting the power back on the young person to make a choice about it. It's okay to not want to do it, but you still have to do it. Use yourself as an example. There are times when I have to do things I don't want to, but I still do them. With older kids, you can say, this is a part of life. Is balancing the, talking on and talking at a kid so they don't hear you, but letting them know that this is what happens for you. I really didn't want to get up this morning and come teach this class today, but I made a commitment, so I'm here. And letting a kid know that that there are consequences, that they need to do the things. But again, balancing that with, so you're not talking just at them, talking with them as much as possible. Maybe using some of the kind of teaching family model ideas. Children who are defiant are usually seeking control. Remain calm. If you get upset, the child wins. That's so important to remember. If you get upset, the child wins. Be consistent. Be prepared to follow through the first time. If you find yourself getting dragged into an argument, remember to control yourself at first. And I've said this over and over. I need to calm down before we go any further. I'm going to deal with me, and then I'll come back and deal with you. I really like that sentence because it's very straight up. I need to get control. And then remember to say positive reinforcements. Thank you for listening the first time. I asked you to pick up the blocks, your clothes, your Nintendo, everything. I appreciate it very much. Thank you when you speak calmly. And then minimize the effects of verbal aggression by not overreacting. Again, we've talked about this. This is difficult. It helps to talk the child during calm periods. You want to remember that not every day is there a crisis, so enjoy your kids. Enjoy the times when things are calm, and talk with them about those difficult times. Intervene quickly to stop physical aggression, and we're not going to talk about any kind of physical restraining, but you can say, I understand that you're angry, it's not okay to hit. Again, talking about using words, talk about replacement, redirection, looking for those cues when a kid is getting ready to move up there. Intervene earlier and come up with ways with them to do that. Let's take a look at how to use positive feedback. You can use positive feedback in two ways: to increase desirable behavior or to decrease undesirable behavior. Simply look for good behavior. Do I sound like a broken record? A little bit. but look for the good behavior, and when it occurs, reinforcement. When your child is well behaved, reward them with a few words of praise and encouragement. Replacement. And that we've talked about already, a little bit about eliminating or weakened misbehavior. This technique works with patterns of misbehavior, not misbehavior that is staring you in the face. First, determine the misbehavior. Next, determine the opposite behavior. So we've talked about finding a misbehavior, recognizing it, pointing it out, and then giving them alternatives. This is kind of designed for 6-year-olds here, but it's the same thing that we've talked about. It's just a different way that it's written. And then finally on page 5 it says, aim for self-reward. Use positive feedback that teaches your child to value himself. You made the right choice because you knew it was the correct thing to do. So we have spent a lot of time looking at different techniques. Any questions? Something that's popping out? Okay. So what we're going to do now, this is a very simple behavioral plan. Lots of you have worked in agencies that have behavior plans, with private agencies that require treatment plans that meet the WAC, that meet your behavioral rehabilitative services, that meet mental health this, blah, 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 that meets the, state requirements. This is none of that. This is for you in your home, in your household, and for an individual kid to help you kind of wrap yourself around this notion of behavior management, which is who's the name of the kid, what are the presenting behaviors? So what is it that this kid does that is disturbing, is bothering you, is causing difficulties in his life? And then strategies for behavior change. So what's the presenting issue? What is the strategies? And what do you expect to be the outcome? That's the other part of it. We can talk about, we want to do behavioral, we want to make behavior management, we want to organize, change their behavior. Well, what do you want out of it? What do you want different? What I'd like to do is, have you, I came up with some scenarios for you. Pick a kid, maybe one that kind of just strikes you, that might be, somebody that you know or that you're interested in working with. Or so pick a scenario and just take a few minutes and think through what are the presenting behaviors here with this kid that are that you need to work on or you need to deal with. And what might be a couple strategies? I know that I haven't given you a whole behavioral diagnostic assessment, but when you look at this kid, some of them, you know who we're talking about. What might be some of the strategies that you might use to kind of help this kid to manage their behavior, and what might you hope to change? Okay, do you guys want to start and tell us who you wrote about and tell us a little bit about your behavior plan?
We picked Joey.
Okay.
The presenting behaviors is he doesn't have the ability to follow rules, getting into trouble at school and the community center, and he's not acting his age. So for some of the strategies for behavior change, we talked about maybe posting the rules on the wall because maybe there's too many or he's just not able to remember them.
Okay.
So making them clear and knowing what's expected of him, and then probably posting like what's going to happen if he doesn't follow these rules. And then kind of tying his behaviors with the consequences, like if he really enjoys going to the community center but he's acting out, and he's acting out at school, if he can't start shaping up, then he's not going to be able to go to the community center. And then also tying in with, he's talking about what he wants to do or hopes what to do when he's 16, finding out how he can start earning or working towards those now, whether it's saving money or buying equipment or something, start tying in his behaviors with the things he wants to do.
Okay.
And then the expected outcomes is hopefully just better able to follow the rules and doing better in school. And then making him more responsible for his choices.
Okay. Great. And how would you go about teaching him some of that? Maybe he hasn't had much exposure to kind of rules. What techniques might you use in terms of teaching him?
Out of the teaching alternatives?
Well, maybe that, or again, some of the positive cues, or
Positive feedback and just going over, appropriateness on communication and how to get along with others, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I would say this is a kid that I think that, you're right on. I would just might look at, in my mind, he might be a kid that might need a little more teaching around what are some of those acceptable ways to deal with it, some reminding of following the rules, some more positive training interactives, because he's not a particularly angry kid. He's just he may be a bit clueless, so just helping him in addition to the consequences, the teaching part of it. So, but great, thank you. Okay, how about the two of you back here? What you come up with? Who are you working with?
With the same
Joey?
Joey.
Okay, so tell us about what you came up with.
basically the whole idea, he's not following rules. He's getting in trouble with school, more than likely with his peers. He has interests in doing something better when he gets older, and he acts like a 3-year-old. That's kind of the piece there. And the strategies for that would be the positive outcome when he follows rules, what those consequences are, to reiterate to him or her the consequences when they don't follow the rules. And more than likely he could get expelled from school, or how that will filter out when he gets older, and develop a new communication style. And learn the calming techniques. I think that would be good, because he's dealing with the teachers and the anxiousness of what's going on there.
So maybe using some progressive relaxation, muscle relaxation, and self-calming techniques.
Right.
Very good.
And generally when they act out, it's because they don't know what's going on in school. So they have to learn how to communicate with their peers, with their teacher, the social skill area, dealing with their peers, communicating more effectively, learning how to speak more politely, and using appropriate language when he's under stress, But that has to be taught to him, because if he doesn't know that, he needs to be taught how to do that. And then we're moving towards an aim for self-reward, what those rewards would be for this kid.
Okay. And figuring out what those rewards would
Yeah.
be. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. All right. So we've just put together a great treatment plan between the two for Joey. And did you do Joey?
Nope.
Okay. Who'd you do?
I took John.
Okay. Tell us about John.
Okay, John's got a problem. He's argumentative. He's defiant. He's got negative conduct. He doesn't like schoolwork. I can relate to that. I didn't like schoolwork either. So my strategy was sit down and have a discussion with him. What his frustrations are, what his disappointments are, what may have caused this change, because he came in such a good way of trying to please, which they always do.
Right.
So this is actually very typical about foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
And how we're going to handle it. And of course, including him as part of the process. You know?
Okay. So ensuring that he's part of the behavioral
Right.
plan.
Let him help to sit down with us and discuss how we're going to formulate this. Let him be part of the process of making it. Thereby it puts kind of a positive self-esteem on him, because it shows him his input is of value.
Okay.
Discuss the need for the time to be home, why we have requirements such as that. I had this problem with my own kids. You know, they didn't like curfews. You know, why do we have to have curfews? Well, you have to be at home at a certain time so you get your homework done. You have to be home at certain times to get your rest before going to school in the morning. My curfews for school nights are different than non-school nights. And it was never rigid. It was always, you know, if there's something special, we can discuss it and make plans. Mm-hmm. Same with John. We'd sit down and discuss it. You know, what's the need of it? How come? What if you didn't get that rest? What if you didn't get that time to do your homework? How's it going to affect you? Also, why his homework is important, you know, because that's part of his grade. His grade point decides where he gets to go to college, and that can make a difference in his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Why is chores an important thing? Why does he have to come home and do chores? You know?
Good question.
Structure and responsibility. I mean, our parents probably never told us that, right? Just do it.
Right.
But with my kids, I was able to say, you know, this teaches you responsibility. Because you do a good job at keeping, you know, the animals fed or whatever the chore it was, it shows me you're responsible, and therefore I can give you more freedom and more responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And it helps you to grow.
So would you help him with teaching him some of these as part of that?
Well, I'd have him sit down and be part of it. I'd have him discuss what we could do to cater it to his needs, yes.
Okay.
And also remind him, too, that by being home at a certain time gives us quality time together as a family.
Okay, good.
I look at a foster child as needing a family connection.
Absolutely.
You know.
Okay,
and,
great.
So, and how important he is to the family, and how we want the best plan for him that's going to work for him and the family. It's got to be conclusive. We'd have him discuss, you know, what's wrong with the menu. He had mentioned he had a problem with eating. He wouldn't eat certain things. Whatnot. Okay, what's wrong with the menu? Is it physical, or is it just your wants? What's right with it? What does your body need? You know, what would be a good diet for having a good, healthy body, and why do we have this menu? And have him sit down and discuss, you know, all the food groups, the whole 9 yards, the nutrition, and have him see the importance of eating a good diet.
Okay.
If there's a physical problem, he can't eat certain things, that's fine.
Okay,
You
so
always have to
part
work
of that
with those.
may be that there's something physiological and you may have to go to the doctor and find out what's going on.
Or it might be something that he was forced to eat at a previous home that he didn't like.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe there was a certain discussion that took place negatively previously that may be causing a problem. How are we going to work with that? You know, things like that. Also, the expected outcomes would be a positive attitude towards rules, the house, school, and have him see, you know, that it's necessary, it's part of life. And also the other part of the expected outcomes would be calm discussions of why and what is needed,
Okay.
and how we're going to work through it.
Good. So using the time when things are calm.
Yep.
Because this is a kid that's sitting on a lot of anger, and so finding those times and being able to talk about his anger, what steps we're going to take to deal with it, and what positive outcomes can happen for him.
Yep.
Great. Thanks. Okay. And who did you two talk about?
We talked about Susan.
Oh, good. We got a girl in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realized I used Susan and Susie. Oh, must have been in a Sue mood. Okay, so we're talking about Susan?
Right.
Okay.
And I guess, her acting out was when she was just asked to do something. So we talked about presenting behavior being just her annoyance, maybe just her ramping and raving when she was being asked to do something, and then her negative attitude. Mm-hmm. And so some of the strategies were just, one of the things would be just to ignore her annoying behavior. And
Absolutely.
then the other one, I guess the follow-up in that would just be perhaps maybe go into more information as what's causing that. Could it be that, is it just the chore that she's being asked to do, or is it being how she was asked to do it, and maybe go in depth and probably maybe doing that when you follow up, but maybe the expected outcome, how to eliminate this behavior, maybe choosing a time when things are more relaxed and calm, and setting up a plan is how is the best way to address chores, whether she'd prefer it on a list and she knows and she gets it done before the end of the day, or whether she needs a little bit more structure and support in that, so.
Okay. So she may be a kid that is amenable to cues. She is, some of those, you're starting to, I see that you're, balling your fists. I see that you're, getting tight. I see that you're, huffing more. So in my mind, she might be a kid that might be amenable to those precursor signals, So Susan might be willing to have you make a ear puller or one of those kinds of plans, because she's not at John's level. She's just, like you said, a kind of ignoring, annoying, more attitude kind of stuff. And when she's calmer, she might be able to hear you and be able to work with you around those signals. So, okay, great. You all did a fabulous job on the scenarios. You ready to go home and write a behavior plan for the kids in your house? Yes?